Welcome to Catholic Life as we spotlight ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I am Dina Dow, and I'm so happy that you're here with us this half hour. We are going to focus on Catholic Charities here in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. And with us to share this incredible journey is Catherine Weidert. She is the Communications Coordinator here at CCBR, so we call it Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
You're so amazing. And happy anniversary. You've been with us for 5 years now.
It'll be 5 years in December.
That's great. Take a look back. Tell us about day one and then today.
There has been lots of changes since I started at Catholic Charities. I actually started during COVID. So, December 2020, that alone was such a difference to what we are doing now. But, I've really realized I grew up in the Catholic Church, knew about Catholic Charities, but I never really understood the depth and the range of all the services and programs that we really provide. And so just over the past 5 years, I've learned that really the goal and what Catholic Charities does is meet the needs of the people at the time. Those who are most in need, those who are most vulnerable, they really just reach out and fill the needs that are not met in our community. And so I've really just been blessed to take that all in and help in any way I can with getting the message out or getting support if we need it. And it's love this job. The work that Catholic Charities does is amazing, and I get to talk about it and spread the word. So it's been a blessing.
And you're connected with a lot of different entities to get the message out. So what does that look like for you if you want to do some type of release or something's coming up? What's your protocol for that?
So we help people of all faiths, and so we work with, the secular media, but also like Catholic Life TV and Catholic Community Radio, and so social media is a huge, part of getting the word out at little to no cost. So that's super helpful as well. But we really just try and meet people where they are, and a lot of that is through. I work with journalists and reporters and try and get them to come cover our events, or if we're raising money for something, I just try and get the word out as far and as wide as possible. Social media, the website, all of that is super helpful.
Yeah, and you're very good at that too, because there's a lot of events that are covered on that. And if you're on social media, you get an opportunity to be able to see all the exciting things that are happening, some of the difficult things that are happening too in people's lives, but filling in and being that bridge for people that are most in need. Right. Also, like the fact that you pointed out that Catholic Charities is for everyone. Yes. It's not just for Catholics, correct. Right? Like the church is its mission and evangelization, right? Part of it is to serve all those that are in the community and in the surrounding area. And I know that that's one of the things that y'all spotlight, greatly, is that all are invited to be able to take part in any of the services.
And we like to say we don't help people because they are Catholic. We help people because we are
That's
Catholic.
Right. That's right. And that's our calling. And we're surrounded by so many saints that witness that. So speaking of events, tell us about the summer. What was been happening? Still think things get quiet in the summer, and I don't think it got quiet for you all.
I'm not sure it ever gets quiet at Catholic Charities. We are always beating people where they're at, and the needs never stop. So we recently started renovations on our Sanctuary for Life, which is our housing program transitional housing program for pregnant homeless women above the age of 18. We had the building was uninhabitable, so we had to redo the walls and do out the bids and raise money to get that done. And so by the grace of God, we raised the money, and so we're starting that project. But of course, it'll take some time. So we're excited to get that building back up to capacity and help those women who have nowhere else to go. They're homeless, pregnant, and trying to make a better life for them and their child. And so they turn to Sanctuary for Life and Catholic Charities, and so we're able to help them out. Like I said, back at full capacity because we had to move them to another house. But yeah, that was a big one this summer. We are also doing renovations at Joseph Homes, which is our transitional housing for formerly incarcerated men. So they have their own apartments, and as time goes on, buildings need upgrades and different, renovations. And so we are raising money currently for that to provide new mattresses and new door locks. And just really, this is their first safe, stable home, in years for a lot of them. And so we're just really trying to set them up to be successful in society and re-enter society and make them feel good and grounded. And so part of that is, this is not just an investment in a building, but it's also an investment in a person and building hope and, like I said, making them feel grounded and welcomed. So those are the two big things that we've been doing this summer, and then also our faithful food pantry. So we've started doing we have a faithful food pantry, and we have distribution sites throughout the diocese. And our parishes that we serve in the Diocese of Baton Rouge actually have some of the highest food insecurity rates in the state. And it's like 1 in 7 adults, deal with food insecurity, and 1 in 5 children.
Oh, wow.
So, again, we saw that need. We're trying to cover it. And so we do food boxes. I think it's like 20-pound food boxes. We work with the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank and provide food boxes to those who are in food deserts and they don't have access to grocery stores. They don't have, they're out in the middle kind of nowhere. And so we meet them where they are. Yeah. So we have distribution sites throughout the diocese. I think we're up to 5 now. And then in January, we also started a retail food rescue program.
That's right. Yeah.
So we call them Frank. It's our big box truck, and we take them and we go to Sam's and different local grocery stores, and we take the food that they would otherwise be throwing out. And it's like millions of pounds of food go to waste a year. And so we get that to the people who need it most. Mm-hmm. And so from January to April, we have rescued over 37,000 pounds of food.
Really?
And redistributed that throughout the community. So what we do is we pick it up, and then we have spokes. They're called spokes, and it's like LSU Food Pantry and St. Vincent de Paul and different places, throughout the diocese, and we'll drop, that food off to them, and they're able to get it out to the specific people who
because that's a timing thing too.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's expiration dates, which it's not expired.
It is not expired.
But it's close to,
yes.
And then these big companies know that they're not going to be able to sell it enough in time.
Correct.
So you take it and you just distribute it out between the spokes around the region.
Right, and then
that's amazing.
Yeah, we need volunteers to help with that, and we have to keep this program going, and we are really seeing growth in the need.
Yeah.
More people are learning about it and needing more help, and so that program is growing exponentially, and we're trying to keep up with the need. So,
how many boxes, like food boxes, do you think you all distribute at one distribution? On average,
it varies. Once a month, we have. We break down pallets of food, and we build the food boxes, and we bring them to different distribution sites. And so we go to Convent, Donaldsonville, Albany has a big one. We have one at Catholic Charities office on South Acadian. Morganza, we're actually in Morganza now too. And so all of those places vary. And like I said, as word spreads that we're out there and we're providing this, these services, more and more people are hearing about it. And we actually have a story of a grandparent couple. They are out in Morganza, and they would pick up their grandchildren every day from school. And so, of course, you want to feed, you want to feed your grandchildren, and you want to, provide for them, and they were having difficulties with the price of groceries, really meeting the needs of their grandchildren, but also having, enough for them. And so they have just been overwhelmed with joy that we're out there with these boxes, and they're able to, really take care of their grandkids and do more for them while also having enough for themselves.
And I'm sure there are hundreds of stories like that too. It's amazing how much just a box of food can satisfy people's physical needs, but also to feed their spiritual needs too, because they know that there's hope.
Right.
People care. They're listening. They know they're there, not some obsolete, person out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
But I think it's such the beauty of Catholic Charities is because you don't wait for people to come to you.
No.
Right. You find them.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they find you
Right.
where you are, because you're not just staying hubbed in one area. You're out and across the whole entire diocese. Same too with the transitional housing.
Yes.
When people are in crises or when they're moving out from, serving their time and being incarcerated, to having that bridge again to be able to have a stable home that they can go out and find employment.
Right.
I remember interviewing a gentleman who went through St. Joseph Homes or Joseph Homes, and so he found employment, but he said without that space for him to be able to settle and just kind of make that bridge over, it would have been more difficult for him because he wouldn't have had a place to go.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't have anywhere else to go, and a lot of times, they're not in contact with their family anymore, or they don't want to go back to the place where they were,
where they got into trouble in the first place.
Where, they were into things they maybe shouldn't have been. So they're really trying to start a new life and be a contributing part of society. They want to work. They want to, have a space of their own. They want to buy a car. They want to get their license and be able to drive and, do all those things. And so Joseph Home really provides that transition between in a safe place for them to know that they're safe and know that they really, don't have to worry about it as long as they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
And I know that they've started a mentoring program too, that the gentlemen that have been there are turning around and mentoring those that are just coming in. So it comes full circle, which is beautiful.
Does.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about, disaster, a little bit about immigration, senior services, and of course the big opportunity for Christmas giving.
Yes.
That's having a little bit of transition this year, but something a little bit more, exciting for us.
Yeah.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Right now, God gives me hope, and I used to look for hope in the wrong places. I would describe hope as optimism and being, anticipating things in a positive light. Whenever I was early on in college, I was failing all my classes, and I ended up failing out my sophomore year. And I always kind of had some ambition and some optimism, I'll figure it out. Even when I was failing out and really had nothing to my name, no resume or anything, I was still pretty hopeful that one day I'd figure it out. I try to be as optimistic as possible in my daily life and try to be grateful for things, and also not think about the worst outcomes, because then I feel like they'll happen. Right now, all of my 20s so far, all of college has been pretty just positive in general. So I guess I'm hopeful and youthful in that sense, just hopeful of the rest of my 20s or the rest of my life in general. Not much. I guess I haven't thought about it much from early on in my life to now, but I think I just am constantly trying to be optimistic. I know that God's got a plan for me, and I trust in that plan, so that is what gives me hope right now. And I found that when I look for hope in other places, it's not really pure, good, real hope.
Welcome back to Catholic Life as we spotlight ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I am Dina Dow, your host, and staying with me is Catherine Weidert. She's a communications coordinator here at Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. So we were just talking about the amazing opportunities of transitional housing, the faithful food program, say that 10 times in a row, and all the beautiful outreach. But there's other services too that have been a long time history of Catholic Charities. One has been disaster, which a lot of us have been involved with that. I remember kind of meeting here and then grabbing some LSU students and going down to home of Thibodeau after Hurricane Ida. And through the service, we met Catholic Charities down there and showed us how to gut out people's homes. So tell us a little bit about the history of the disaster relief.
Disaster relief at Catholic Charities really started, right after Hurricane Katrina. Again, back to needs needing to be met, and so they tapped Catholic Charities, and so we dove headfirst, and we've been doing that for it'll be 20 years, and so what Catholic Charities really does is a lot of people come in immediately after disaster and help gut out homes, but a lot of people don't think about what happens when all of those people move out and you're left with paperwork, you're left with insurance, you're left with FEMA. Kind of where do I go now? How do I rebuild my house? How do I rebuild my life? And so that's really where Catholic Charities comes in with case management and guiding people through that process of rebuilding and recovering. And like I said, we've been dealing with people from the 2016 floods who are still recovering, the Hurricane Ida. You really don't realize how long it takes to get back on your feet. And like I said, when that immediate response is out, that the immediate relief is done, now what? And people, mentally, just emotionally, they have to rebuild, and that's where Catholic Charity steps in. So,
and what I love about the experience with some of the past hurricanes is the unity between the Catholic Charities and the different dioceses.
Yes.
Acadiana came in. You know, you had New Orleans, San Thibodeau, and when one is doing better than the other, then everybody converges and goes in and communicates that. So I know there were trucks coming in from out the other areas too.
Yes,
so that relationship with the other Catholic Charities in the region, even nationally too.
I was going to say, not even just the region, nationally, they'll send people in if we need more case managers. Catholic Charities USA is very good about responding to that, and having a pulse on things and asking what do you all need? Y'all are in the zone. What do you all need?
Yeah. But then our case managers too are sent out,
sometimes,
right?
yes.
So they go the opposite way.
Yes.
So it's not just hubbed in one area. With Catholic Charities USA, there's a network of opportunities for people to be sent out or be called upon to say, I need you to go here or here or here. And that's what I love about Catholic Charities the most is the long-term care and provisions that are given to people that it's not in the news anymore. Nobody's talking about it, but they're still recovering. And I know that y'all do a little bit of work with immigration and refugee services, so people coming in and getting their paperwork done, getting them settled, finding them churches and places of worship and things like that. So those are great opportunity jobs.
Welcoming the stranger and embracing them and helping them get settled.
Yeah, because a lot of times, I know my Sicilian grandparents were once immigrants that came in, 100 years ago, but I'm sure somebody handed them on in such a way that they could find employment and then have these big Italian Catholic families.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about a little bit about senior services, and then let's go into the Christmas giving. So what do we do for our seniors?
That is actually a great segue because a lot of our Christmas clients are also grandparents and the elderly. So in previous years, we have sponsored families, and they have made wish lists, and so people were able to go out and shop for gifts. In previous years, we've also received funding for direct financial assistance for utilities and rent. Over the past year, we haven't received any funding for that. A lot of people have been reaching out to us asking for help. If I don't have rent, I'm going to be evicted, or my lights are in danger of being cut off. How can you help? if we don't have that money, there's nothing, we can really do for them. And also, there are a lot of other organizations in our area that does the gift giving and the like St. Vincent de Paul and Salvation Army. And so we don't want to duplicate those efforts. And so where our need is, where we found the need is this year is in rent and utility assistance.
Oh, wow.
So what we're going to do is we're calling it a season of hope. And we are collecting monetary donations to help with keeping people housed, keeping people warm, keeping their lights on. And a lot of our clients are the elderly who just don't have the funds to, pay those bills and keep up with the high utility bills in the cold months. And so that's where we're heading this year. We're, excited gifts are great. But I think it's more important to keep people housed.
Yeah. And keep the lights
on.
Yeah.
And like I said, there are other organizations in our area that help with that gift giving. So it's not like we're leaving, high and dry.
Yeah.
It's
well, you're just going where the need is the greatest.
That's
because you can
it.
only imagine the difficulties sometimes, especially with the elderly on a fixed income.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, energy costs are going up or shifting or changing, or maybe their medical needs are even increasing.
Right.
So how do you kind of distribute that in such a way? That's the greatest. It's great to get slippers and robes, and that could come from other institutions, but I'm hearing that this is where the demand is, and the greatest need is for that. And so it's you don't give people the money. I know they go directly to the agencies that collect it.
Right.
So with rent, it goes to the landowner.
Yes.
And for utilities, it goes straight to the energy company.
Yes. So we're collecting strictly monetary donations this year, and
do people apply
directly
for that? Like, how can people apply for that type of assistance? Do they call you all?
Oh yeah, we get. We are a resource for 211 United Way, refers a lot of people to us. But again, we haven't had the funds. We haven't received the funds to be able to help those people out over the past year. So we're focusing on that this Christmas.
So that's going to be the drive, So that's something great that somebody can give to. And thinking about that type of relief, I forgot to mention the relief and the kind of the extraordinary effort that was made for the Texas flooding.
Yes.
Right. So all of a sudden, a need was seen, to help these families rebuild, because we understand, what happens in flooding, especially in this diocese. And that caused a great response from the community.
Yes, we raised over, I want to say it was like over $40,000 or something in gift cards. And a lot of people, wanted to bring certain supplies. And when a disaster hits, the best thing they need at that time is funds, is money. They can go out and purchase what they need at that time.
Right.
And so our community really showed up, and a lot of our churches made collections and delivered that to us. And so it'll be kind of similar for Christmas. We'll have like a day of giving where everyone can come to the office and drop off their monetary donations, and we'll have Santa here hopefully, and hot chocolate, and kind of make it a thing where it's not it's still in the season spirit, but we're really just trying to keep people housed.
Fulfilling people's corporal works of mercy, like those needs, and in addition, spiritual works of mercy at the same time. But sheltering the homeless, feeding the hungry, all of that goes together on those works of mercy, which I know you all are just completely immersed in.
Yeah, our tagline is providing help, creating hope. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we send many people that way. So you talked about financial support outside of a specific seasonal giving. So continuous opportunities to give financial support.
Always. We, a good bit of our funding got cut this year. So we have a gap that needs to be filled, and so we are always accepting monetary donations. People can donate online, CatholicCharitiesBR.org. Look for specific, if you want to give to a specific campaign, you're able to do that. If you only want to give to Joseph Holmes, you can do that. If you only want to give to maternity and adoption services, you can do that. So It's there's a need,
Yeah.
and it's growing,
Yeah.
and so we, like I said, we are always accepting monetary donations. Volunteers,
That
if
was
you
the other
want
thing
to
I was going to ask
volunteer,
about. Yeah.
come
How can people
out.
get involved?
Go online, CatholicCharitiesBR.org. We update the website. You can fill out a form for, to volunteer and get involved. And our wonderful volunteer coordinator, Noelle Young, will reach out and figure out where you'd like to volunteer, what you'd like to do. But yes, we always need volunteers. Always need donations.
Yeah,
so,
donations. I know there are some things that, like cribs and things like
Yes.
that, opportunities for people that are in that transitional housing.
Exactly.
When they move out, what do they have or what do they need to provide for their infant and things like simple things like that too. I was thinking too for young people, older teenagers and families to get together to help with that food,
Yes.
the packing of the boxes and all that stuff. I know that there's distribution sites all over, so even the local churches can ask for volunteers too. So I know a day in the life at Catholic Charities is not typical, but if you had to kind of sum up in the last minute and a half we have, how can you sum up your experience so far in the past 5 years?
I guess I would say people show up at Catholic Charities. They knock on our doors, they make appointments when they are at their most vulnerable, when they are at their greatest time of need. They have nowhere else to turn. They have no hope. They have, and so just seeing what my coworkers do and provide that hope and have those services that are available that a lot of times they're not fun. We don't get to do fun things, but these are basic human needs and necessities. And just like I said, seeing my coworkers really embrace that and put their all and serve the mission and really be Jesus's hands and feet on earth is remarkable. I'm amazed by it every day. And so it's really inspiring. And it, like I said, it's welcoming the stranger and just providing that help and getting people back on their feet when they are at their lowest. That's really what Catholic Charities is all about, and that's what I've witnessed.
Yeah.
And I've been really blessed, the past 5 years, and to be able to see that firsthand and see the difference it makes, see the impact it makes. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you get to communicate that to
Yes,
the world.
I do.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine Weidert,
Thank you
for
so
being
much
with us,
for having
Communications
me.
Coordinator for Catholic Charities here in Baton Rouge. You're such a blessing and an inspiration, too.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us on Catholic Life. Until next time, may God bless you and grant you his peace.